All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Module 5 of the Mindset class. In this module, we're going to be talking about how wealthy people invest. Now, as per every module, before we get too far in, I've got to give you the disclosure. I'm not a licensed attorney, accountant, financial advisor, broker, agent, or any other licensed individual. I'm just a student, just like you guys. I've just had a lot of success in real estate investing over the last few years, and I just want to share those strategies that I've been using with you. So hopefully that's okay with everybody. I want to dive right in. Now, for this section in particular, I want to read a story out of the book that I wrote called Mindset's a Millionaire, because I believe this story is so important in illustrating the importance of investing. Now, this story is about a hunter and a farmer. And this is a story about a hunter's father who had been a hunter himself. His grandfather had also been a hunter. He was hunting was all his family had known for generations. His father took him out to the hunt at a very young age and taught him the skills of the hunt. His father had taught him how to track his prey and how to conceal his scent. He also taught him how to attract his prey so that they would be easy to kill. And one day his father explained to him the importance of the hunt. Your village and your family rely on the hunt, he explained. One day it will fall on you to bring home food. If you fail, the village will go hungry and your family will starve. The young boy grew to appreciate and respect the reverence his father had for the hunt. He noticed his father never missed a day, rain or shine, in sickness or in health. Even at the brink of death, his father would leave with bow and spear and his son at his side to provide for those in his keep. As the young boy matured, his father leaned on him more and more to lead the hunt until one day it was his responsibility alone. The boy, now a man, gave his all to the job. It was ingrained in him from a very young age that if he didn't get up in the morning and engage himself in the hunt, his family would suffer. He looked forward to the day when he had a son of his own, and he thought how he would pass the lessons that his father had taught him on to his son. The hunter labored diligently to provide for his family, but one day he tracked into a deer. He tracked a deer into part of the wilderness that he was unfamiliar with. While running, some movement behind him distracted him. He tripped and fell over a root and hit his head. He was found several days later by a member of his village and was taken back to the camp. Though he survived the accident, he was not able to hunt for many months. His older parents and many members of the village who relied on his efforts for food went hungry. About the same time, in a valley not far from where the hunter lived, there was a farmer. He toiled in his field, hoeing rows and planting seeds. He started with a small patch of land and farmed it diligently. He used what little money he had to buy seed for his first crops. He watered and tended his crops meticulously. He studied and learned how to better himself as a farmer, and he was very careful with his first yield. After the first harvest, he set aside a certain percentage of his crop to plant for the next year's crop and expanded his farm. Every year he would allocate a certain percentage of his crop to the growth of his farm so that every year it would grow. It got to a point where he produced so much that he had a surplus. Merchants would come from far away to trade with him, and his family lived very well. The farmer produced so much from his farm that he had to hire farmhands to plant and tend and harvest his crops for him. His crops and his stockpiles produced enough to feed his family for years, and the farm became self-sustaining, so much so that when the farmer grew old and retired and eventually passed away, his family was taken care of for many years. Now, the parable of the hunter and the farmer illustrates the difference between the mindsets that we've talked about at the beginning of this course in Module 1 and in Module 2, and that we're going to continue to talk about through all the modules. If you have an employee mindset, you're a hunter. You must get up every day and go to work, and you're paid for your time, but it only lasts a short while. And then you've got to go back and do it again. If you're a good hunter, then you may make a lot of money at your job, but it will eventually run out, and you have to go back out and hunt some more. Farmers have a different mentality. They understand that their crops are a renewable resource and that they will continue to yield and grow themselves. And hunters trade their time for food. Farmers trade their food for food. This is important because the parable of the hunter and the farmer just exemplifies the difference between the employee and the wealthy mindset. The wealthy go out and they make money, and they may do it very similar ways. I mean, what I find is that employee mindset individuals are so hard on themselves when they start to learn about what the wealthy mindset do, because oh well, I've done it this way my whole life and I've been doing it wrong. We all have to start from that same place, right? But learning the principles of becoming wealthy mindset, and learning that your money can go out and work for you and make yourself more money. Your money, think of your money as individual employees. Every dollar that you have is an employee that you can send out to make you more money and build towards expanding your farm, right? So the parable of the hunter and the farmer is exactly I think spot on to be analogous to what the difference is between the employee mindset and the wealthy mindset. Now, the way that we do this is by investing. If you want to have people go out and build your wealth, if you're a good business owner and you practice wealthy mindset and ideas, then you've got employees that run your business to where you don't have to be there in order for it to run. Well, it works the same way with investing, except instead of employees, you're using money. You're using, whether it's your money or someone else's money that you raised. That money is out working to make you more money and yield more money, so that you can turn around and invest that back in. So I want to take a minute to talk about some of the different investment categories that are available to us as investors in the wealthy mindset. Let's talk about some of the different categories of investing that the wealthy use. So those investment areas, there are three in particular that we have in our society right now. And those investment areas are: number one, real estate; number two, business; and number three, commodities. Now, commodities may be something that you're less familiar with. Commodities are things like wheat and coffee. A lot of times they're crops. It can also be textiles, clothing and fabric. Commodities are physical goods that can be traded, just like businesses are traded on the stock market, and just like real estate is traded. So there are three different ways to be aware of that you can invest in each one of these investment categories: paper, tangibles, and futures. So let's talk about each of those really quickly. So if you're going to invest in paper, one of the most famous investments that is paper of one of the investment areas is the stock market. The stock market is where you're trading ownership in businesses. When you own stock in a business, you're owning a percentage of that business, and you're not necessarily going in and negotiating with the owners of that business to purchase part of their business. You're buying it on an open market, and you're just buying the paper in that business. So paper, you can trade on the stock market. You can trade businesses in paper. You can also do that with real estate. A lot of people don't know that. But there are strategies that we're going to cover in other classes, such as tax liens and deeds and seller finance notes, and a lot of advanced strategies where you can actually trade the paper. Options is one of those examples. Well, options is actually a different category, so we'll cover that in a second. But where you can trade the paper on real estate, you don't actually ever go to the tangible property, but you can trade the notes on that property. You can sell loans that you have extended on properties for a profit. So, something to keep in mind is that you don't necessarily have to be there at the bricks and mortar in order to be investing in real estate. And the same is true with commodities. Now, tangibles is a lot more familiar when we're talking about real estate and commodities, but businesses work the same way. Tangibles is when you're actually involved in the tangible goods and the tangible assets of the property. So, if you're doing a fix and flip, is a great example of how to buy tangibles in real estate. You actually own the physical house. You're on title, and you most likely have visited the property, and you're sending a contractor in to do a fix and flip job on the house. That's an example of trading tangibles in real estate. You can do that with businesses. You can do that with commodities. And then also you can trade futures and options. Options is something that we're going to cover heavily in other classes in this education, but just as an idea of what's possible and what's out there. Like I've said multiple times, multiple topics within this course, I just want you to have an overview so that you understand the way that the wealthy think. You can trade futures and options. One great example is before my grandfather passed away about 16 years ago. And before he passed away, he sold an option for $10,000 on the house that he and my grandmother lived in. Now, my grandmother just recently passed away this year, and the option that my grandfather sold, they got to enjoy the cash from the purchase of that option. It was $10,000 that they got paid right away, but what they got paid for was a contract that said that individual who paid them had first right of refusals on that property when my grandmother passed away. Now, you can write options in any term. You can say, hey, a year from now, I want to be able to have the option to purchase your property at this price. And that's all that is just an agreement that's written on paper, usually with an option that you purchase up front that goes eventually towards the purchase of the house. So, with options, you can trade real estate, you can trade businesses, and you can trade commodities with options to purchase those investments at a later date at a specified price. So those are the three different investment areas, and those are the three ways that you can interact with those three investment areas. And throughout the course of your education in this program, you're going to learn a lot about tangibles, but also about the other two categories as we dive more deeply into real estate and those investment areas. So now that we've talked about the investment areas, I want to talk about the rule of 72. So this is an idea of compound interest. Einstein said those who understand interest pay it, or those who understand interest receive it. Those who don't understand interest pay it, right? Now, leading to compound interest, that's when, we may invest $10 into an investment and it pays us $1 as a return. Compound interest is when you take all $11 now that you have and reinvest that back in so that you can get that additional return from that additional investment that you made off of your previous yield. And it just kind of it kind of cascades forward from there. So the rule of 72 will tell you how long it will take to double your investment. And it's a simple equation. You just take 72 and you divide it by the rate of interest, or the rate of return on that investment. So let's look at a savings account as an example. I've talked about before, even in this class, about how savings accounts are not great investments. So savings accounts, some of them yield anywhere from 0.02 to 0.2%. Some aggressive savings accounts even up to 2%. But let's just look at a 0.02%. I think that's a pretty common number. 72 divided by 0.02 will take you 3,600 years to double your investment based on that interest rate. So inflation, remember, is at 3% to 5% a year. The conclusion there is that your savings account isn't really saving you money. It's hemorrhaging money because it's not even keeping up with inflation. So you need to make sure that your investments at least keep up with inflation. Otherwise, it's not a good investment. Now, get creative with this and try to see if you can approach each investment to see if you can approach that infinity mark with your ROI. And the way to do that is by using other people's money. If, I've given examples of fix and flips that I've done where I didn't use any of my own money. I used other people's money to go out and do these investments and made, anywhere from 4 figures to 5 figures on these deals. That rate of return with $0 invested on my part, but then getting back, let's say a $10,000 return, that rate of return is infinity percent because I put $0 in. And no matter what real number you times that by, you could even say, well, did you make 10,000%? No, because 10,000% of zero is zero, right? So it's infinity percent that you make on that investment. You want to try to see if you can get those investments to that point as you analyze the investment. So keep in mind the rule of 72. Obviously, the less time that it takes you to double your investment, the better. The higher rate of return that you can get, it also, is a lot better there. So, and also remember, we've got to be investing in yourself. I've said it before, and it just is so true. The most important real estate that you will ever invest in is the 6 inches between your ears. The knowledge is the second currency of the wealthy. Money is the fifth. If you've got an option to spend money to gain knowledge, do it. You've done it here, and I applaud you for that. So you're already on the right track. But spend your money to acquire more important currencies. Money is the fifth on the order of priority of currencies for the wealthy. Knowledge is the second. Educate yourself. Also, set aside money. Pay yourself. Whether you're working a job or running a business or investing or all of those things, always set aside a certain number. I like to set aside 10% out of every check that I receive, regardless of where it comes from. I like to set aside 10% to pay myself. And I take that money, that 10% that I set aside, and I put it into an account where I know I'm going to be going out and using that money to invest in something, most likely rental properties, right? But that doesn't have to be rental properties for you. That can be anything. So make sure that you're investing in yourself because in the long run, that will create an environment for you where you're retiring more wealthy, whereas the employee mindset individual always has the attitude of, they're going to be retiring more broke than they were when they were working. And that doesn't sound like fun to me. We all want to retire more wealthy than we were when we were actually out working. So make sure that you're investing in yourself every single time you get paid. Very important principle. Now, that wraps up Module 5, The Wealthy People Invest. Hopefully you guys got some good nuggets out of that. Next, we're going to be going into the magic of real estate as an investment category. That will be Module 6. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll see you guys on the other side.